WP Central Podcast 148 for September 5th, 2012. Hey everybody, Danny Rubino here in New York City, joined with Raphael and Jay Bennett for a podcast. And that's it. We're just going to talk about things, or perhaps we'll talk about all that Nokia stuff that happened today.
Some pretty big news happened today. I feel like we should probably focus on that.
Yeah, to put perspective, sometimes for every 100 people that comment on stories, we get like one who's like, "You guys should rename yourselves Nokia Central." For the record, our traffic goes through the roof when we cover Nokia, and everybody falls asleep when we do HTC and Samsung. That's not to knock their stuff. I actually really like both those companies and their devices, but the fact is, people are excited about Nokia, and so we're just catering to that. And let's be honest, Nokia had to announce today, so we
should probably put a couple of disclaimers into this podcast. Obviously, number one, Daniel's currently on a laptop with a battery life of about an hour and a half, he thinks, and a limited ability on his internet. So the likelihood is that he'll cut out or sound a little bit off this week. And I intend to play devil's advocate for most of the podcast. So that's the disclaimers out of the way. Daniel, how are you doing? Are you tired, or are you doing all right?
I'm doing pretty well, considering I have about 3 hours of sleep. I got up at 5:30 a.m., went to bed at 2 a.m., and I've just been doing this nonstop. So I'm actually pretty sane. And I got to go to the party tonight for Nokia, which starts...
I guess you've got to go. You're going to enjoy it. Come on. Well, you might not.
3 drinks. Yeah.
Now, let's be honest. You look better than you usually do, so...
I'll take that, I suppose, as a compliment. I'll take what I can get. Let's head into the Nokia news, though. First of all, let's just go through what was announced, and then we'll talk about reactions to these things. So the big thing, of course, was the Lumia 920. They had an awesome video that introduced this that actually lost sound about partway through. Hopefully they'll put that video introduction online, though, because it's really cool. They showed the phone breaking apart to all schematics and parts, and the music was really amped up.
I think your reaction on the live blog was just wow, wasn't it, when you saw that?
Yeah, it was, and the whole room was kind of like, and the room was shaking. It was pretty intense. Once again, Nokia did a very good presentation. 920 comes out. Part of today's problem, you have to admit, was the fact that a lot of our leaked information over these last 2 weeks was
absolutely correct.
And that, I know everybody loves that, but you have to admit that totally kills. It's like just I remember as a kid, I looked under my parents' bed and found something wrapped. I opened it. And
we don't want to know what you found on your parents' bed.
My electric guitar, and I had to pretend to be surprised. Oh, wow! I had no idea. And that's what.
Are you saying it's like the present that you find before Christmas? So it's like the present you find before Christmas. It's I know what's coming in excruciating detail.
Well, but I'm saying, I was still excited. I still wanted that, So, and that's how the 920 was today. I don't think anything Nokia did today was bad as far as the announcement. It was just that everybody kind of knew it. So
we'll get to that later.
Okay. So then Lumia 920 announced, successor to the 900, has a 4.5-inch screen, which is actually a really nice screen, which we'll get to in a few moments too. It has a pure view camera, 8.7 megapixels on that one. 2,000 milliamp battery, actually slightly smaller than the Ativa S from Samsung, which had a 2300
Artive. It's Artive, remember?
Ativa, that's right. I'm thinking Steve. I'm thinking that sugar substitute.
There's no ver at the end of it. It's just Artive.
Ative.
It's basically supposed to sound as ridiculous as possible, I think.
Right, but in fairness, that phone is extremely thin with a 2300 milliamp battery.
It looks great. It does.
Little thick with a 2,000 milliamp battery. That's non-replaceable. So, but different, technologies. Obviously, I prefer actually the way the Lumia 900 feels and the 920 feels as well. What else was it there? Of course, there's NFC. There was the wireless inductive charging.
Curved glass, which is actually a really big deal.
Kind of curved glass. There really wasn't too curved.
It is. It takes away from the Lumia 800 original design when you have the flat glass, because it just loses a part of its finesse.
But it's still kind of flat. I don't know. I didn't really get much curviness.
Raphael, what did you make of the specs? Anything stand out for you?
The 60 hertz refresh rate.
Yeah,
that's pretty much a game changer there in terms of mobile phones and refresh rates out there. So everything looks way more fluid. You get less of that navigation blur when you're running around on the phone. And of course, games are going to pop as well. So that's going to be awesome.
You're referring to the Pure Vision HD Plus screen display technology that Nokia,
right?
Which actually has another part to it too, which is the ability to wear gloves while touching the screen in the winter. Which I came out of nowhere. I didn't know that existed. Who knew? We're all last year buying those stupid gloves with little fingertips and the conductive material on it, whatever. And now they just
never work.
Yeah, they never do. It's like 50% of the time, you know. Now somehow Nokia figured this out, and are like, yeah, by the way, you can wear gloves.
Yeah,
females with their nails.
They're licensing a tech by I think it's Synaptics, I think, who owns it. But it's the first phone to pick it up and do it, which is pretty good news.
Stuff. The refresh rate, you know.
Yeah, and there's also the pixel density, which is higher than the iPhone. I think it's at 332.
Right, which we knew. We knew because of the screen resolution, you know, the size, what it's at. That even at 4.5 inches, you can still have a higher pixel density than the iPhone did at 3.5 inches, which is, I mean, that's pretty crazy. That's really dense. So you get all the beauty of the Retina display, and that's all a Retina display is. Let's be honest. The Retina display is a lot of pixels jammed in there. I mean, Renee could technically correct that. That's basically Retina. It's a super high pixel density, and so you're getting all that. You know?
So let's go through a couple of the specs of the Lumia 920. So 4.5 inch screen confirmed, as we said, and we know it's an AMOLED. It's going to have their clear back technology. It's going to have the improved refresh rate. I have the feeling that this screen is probably going to be the best thing we've seen. It's going to be just look like things are floating, and I'm really quite excited about that.
Actually, just a slight correction there. They didn't say anything about AMOLED. Pure Motion,
let me just check.
The Pure Motion HD Plus is not an AMOLED screen. It may be even better. So,
yeah, you have a very good point. The display does not list the. It doesn't list the style on the website. Yep, point taken. They're calling it sculpted 2.5D glass. Interestingly, there. Anyway, so yeah, moving on. They're suggesting 10 hours of 3G talk time, 400 hours of 3G standby time, 67 hours of music playback time, if you're into that thing. We've got the camera. We'll get onto the camera in a little bit because it's obviously slightly big in news. USB port on the bottom, which is consistent with what we're starting to see of all Windows Phone 8s to have a docking port. USB, your 3.5mm headphone jack up top. We know it's going to be LTE. We know we've got Wi-Fi. We've got the wireless charging, NFC and Bluetooth capabilities. My question basically to you guys, I almost forgot 32 gigabyte, of course, of mass memory, but no expandable storage in this model. If we're looking at it just from a hardware point of view, just looking at the Lumia 920 as a hardware device, did Nokia get it right? You know,
this is the kind of crazy thing. Some people are disappointed. I'm not necessarily sure what else they could have done with today's technology. They're even using technology I didn't really know existed, right? We'll get to the camera in a moment. I think the problem Nokia is having right now is the fact that they did all this, subtle stuff with all this technology for improving the display, the camera, but the device technically looks like the Lumia 900, the Lumia 800. Well,
right.
Yeah. And that's all people see right now. They're just seeing the images and they're like, yeah, it's a different color.
Yeah.
And that's, and that's unfortunate. I agree perhaps a radically different designed device thrown into this would have been help break that up a little bit. But I think people are really missing. Like when people just tell me these are just rehashes, I'm like, you're insane. I'm like, the camera that they did here is really, really impressive. I say that as a camera geek. Like, if I gave them a checklist as a camera, enthusiast, sit on it would have been on that list. Check it off. And so I'm just like ecstatic over it. You can't do much more with the camera. If they did a 41 pixel, it would have been, would have ruined the design of the Lumia, which, I don't think is a good.
Okay, so So we'll get to the camera in a second. Just moving on, picking up your point on design there, and you say talking about rehashes. I think you are spot on there. It's a case of you look at the iPhone, you look at other people that have been successful with regards to things like the Droid series or the HTC Desire series. If a design is this popular, let's be honest, the Lumia design is fantastic. Look at how long the iPhone 3 series was out. It was for 3 models. Now, we could argue this is going to be the 3rd model of this because you have the 800, then you have the 900, now the 920. But it doesn't make sense to move away from a design that is still this fresh and still this new. Don't get me wrong, I think the next phone that they come out with, they might have to think about switching up the design a little bit because it's going to be getting a bit stale by that point. But why would you lose what has won such great awards when it comes to the design? Why wouldn't you just bulk up the hardware, address what people were complaining about, which is the fact that the Lumia hardware was supposedly underpowered, and send it out there? My disappointment is that it's not coming in cyan, and Rene asked that question earlier. It is really disappointing because, frankly, I don't like the yellow as much as it's beautiful. It's not going to work for me. But from a hardware design point of view, I think it ticks every box that you needed to see.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
and Raphael, go on.
I was just going to say that the number one complaint I've seen so far was regarding the SD slot. And I think people need to put into focus that while the 820 has an SD slot, you can only expand it to 32 gigs. The 920 comes with 32 gigs built in. So you're not really losing any storage space there. And then you tack on SkyDrive and some of the other storage options, and I mean, you're good to go. So now, if you're moving files around on an SD card, I mean, that's kind of lame. But
I mean,
one guy from our forum, Dust Beta, just made a point. There is nothing that's changed, and that's the fact that they've gone glossy rather than matte. And I do agree with his point there. I preferred the matte look to the glossy. It's just one point to pick out.
I was just okay with glossy. The white looks really good glossy. Actually, I kind of prefer it. But what I was going to say about the micro SD expansion, I talked about that. And this was an Apple decision, basically. They chose, a form over function. And so the idea was, if you look at the Lumia 900, right, you have the micro SIM slot up there, and you can't do anything about that. You have to have micro SIM slot. But if there was one part of this device that stuck out and just breaks apart the design, it's this micro SIM slot, right? It's this weird plastic, or there's no movement on it, and I can't really complain about it. But what else are you supposed to do? Even the iPhone has to do something like that. So the question was, do they do that again to add the micro, SD card? Perhaps they could have made it a little bit bigger and put the card in. I don't know, but they're so small. It was a design problem. So the reason the 820 has it, which we'll get to in a moment, is because it has a removable backplate. And I actually have a photo of it. I'll put it up on the site later, and I'll show you where the micro SD card is, because you pull the whole backplate off and you expose all the guts of it. It's actually like the original Titan design, where that back cover comes off, but it kind of surrounds the side and engulfs the whole thing. And then you put the micro SD, the SIM, and the battery there. It's a trade-off. It's a trade-off in design and elegance versus function. I still think 32 gigs will please most people.
It's perfect from my perspective. Although we should make a point, actually, with Windows Phone 8, of course, we're moving to high-def graphics and moving to high-def apps. So our apps are going to now be bigger downloads. Therefore, you could look at it as saying, well, the upgraded memory was kind of necessary. But we're not talking to the point where 32 gig is still going to be too small.
We'll back up your photos resolution, which is really nice. Yeah. So more realistic.
Okay, so Daniel, the camera. Have you actually had a chance to have a hands-on with it, or have you just seen the results?
No. I mean, I've got to play with it. They're very. I don't want to call it hands-on, but it's not either. It is working. I've seen it work. I've been able to kind of use it, but they don't allow you to hold a device for very long, if at all. And that's because some of the stuff's still not working yet and everything. But no, we have a video up on the site of it in action. And one of the main features of this, of course, is the image stabilization done through the lens. It's a hardware stabilization. Now, this was always very difficult to do on camera phones, because it was so tiny. They basically use little springs to mounts around the lens and it helps absorb shock and everything. They got around that through their floating technology, which is like a whole other thing. We have an article on it. What that does, though, you can see in the video, which is a little blurry, I apologize, but the girl holds the phone like this, basically, and then is jiggling up and down, and then you see the image basically staying still. And that's what it's doing. The lens itself is picking up the movement, and then it compensates for and it's really impressive. And why that matters, because when you do low light shots, and you're trying to hold it equal long exposure, the problem is you're doing these little tiny subtle movements. You might not feel it, but you'll see it when you take the picture. It comes back, it's blurry. Now you can do that quarter of a second exposure, which is an eternity. It feels like an eternity in electronics. And this will compensate for that, and your photos look crystal clear, and allows you to get in more light to the sensor. Combined with a somewhat larger sensor, f2.0 lens, and they use a perfect recipe for a great camera. I believe when they say this jumps and leapfrogs everything that's out there, it's true. And I think people will be really impressed when they see it.
Cool. So we talked about the stabilization. Just before we carry on with the camera, I wanted to ask a question. Did you actually get a chance to hold it? How does it feel in terms of size? I've heard that it's a bit bigger than the 900.
It is. It is slightly bigger, but not noticeably. It's sort of...
Because 4.5 inches is a big screen.
It's spread out slightly differently. And by that, I mean the 900 is very... equally cut this way, equally cuts parallel, you know. The 900 curves up a little bit more, and it's heavier in the center. So it's spread out differently. So I don't really think it probably is a little bit bigger. Don't get me wrong, it has a much bigger battery in there, right, and a bigger screen. So I'm sure it's slightly, but it feels more like it's just distributed slightly differently, heavier in the center, lighter on the side. And that actually feels nice in the hand. I had no immediate complaints about it. It's not a TEV S super thin, but then again, the TEV S is what's the other complaint for the TEV S? It's cheap, it's plastic, it's flimsy. So you can't have it both ways. I love the 900 design. I use this as my daily. For me, it's perfect. I have no complaints about it. The 920 size for what you're getting, I think is great. So.
Okay, so you talked about the image stabilization. Sorry, Raphael, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, the site also mentions that it's about 20 grams heavier. Do you actually notice that at all, or?
I didn't. I think you'd be kind of hard-pressed to, but, you know,
okay.
I like to do a blind study on people and see if they notice. You may be able to pick it up, but it didn't come across as too obvious. No.
Okay. So the question, obviously, we've spoken about image stabilization. We're going to come back to image stabilization shortly, just regarding an advert that went out. The other question I wanted to ask, of course, is you can talk us through, you're quite happy now to see that they've gone with a better aperture rate and the backlight, or was it backlit sensor that you were also looking at? So in light detail, talk us through how you think that's going to improve things.
So f-stop, what's called an f-stop, or the aperture on a camera, is, you just think of it as like the iris. It's how open it can go. The wider and the more open it can go, the more light that can go on into the sensor. That turns it's a faster shot. The shutter speed can go quicker. That allows you to take low light shots. The camera I use, it's got a 50 millimeter f1.4. It's really low, so it's huge. I have it right over there. I'll grab it later. But it's like a ton of glass in there, and it's heavy too. The lower that number is, the lower that f-stop goes, the more light hits that sensor and the faster it can be. You can also get what's called depth of field. That's when you take a picture of, say, your hand, but then the background is nice and blurred, and it allows you to focus this object where everything gets that nice creamy, what's called a bokeh. That's because of a low f-stop. 2.0 is not ridiculously low on cameras like DSLRs, but on camera phones, it's pushing the boundaries of what can be done. The 1X does have a 2.0, so some other camera phones have it out there. But it's good that they lower that because it, once again, makes it faster. BSI, backside illuminated, we talked about before. Currently, the 900 has what's called front side illuminated. The wires go in front of the sensor. and it goes across basically. And then when light tries to hit the sensor, some of it's getting blocked. It's how the human eye works too. Ideally, you put and you get more light hitting it, and then you get more a brighter photo. Basically, that's the ideal way. That's how Mother Nature doesn't design things, at least humans. So it's harder to make BSI sensors. They're more expensive, but now it's come down in price. So you put all those together, and it just and not to mention, and everybody's got to overlook this part too. Nokia's algorithm. So on top of all that stuff, Nokia has their own proprietary algorithms for image sharpening and noise reduction, brightness, contrast that we haven't seen. The 900 doesn't have it. The 800 doesn't have it because you couldn't do it on Windows Phone 7. Windows Phone 8, they can do that. And even the Lumia 820 has that stuff. That's why the 820's camera is still way better than the 900 than anything else that's out there. Because now in the Scalato company that they bought, all that stuff gets to be used from Nokia. So this is why it's a killer camera. I mean, I think people are really glossing over how big of a deal this is. But I think once people start seeing photos pop up on Flickr and Facebook, it's going to change things. And then you also get into their lenses, right? These lens apps that Microsoft also co-announced. One of them, the Cinematograph, is brilliant. So all I can say is animated GIFs. Raphael loves these, I'm sure. They're popular on the internet if you've gone for Reddit.
ImageUR?
Yeah. Animated GIFs are like some of the funniest things. What Nokia did, they basically said, let's give people the ability to create those on the fly on their phone. So what you do is you record a little video clip, and then you tell what parts you don't want to move and what parts you do want to move, and it creates a little GIF. It looks like that is something else out of one of those movies there. Mm. Which movies?
I'm not entirely sure what the word is you're looking for.
Very popular. Anyways,
okay.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. You can also do things like take a picture with the flag in the background, and then you can animate the flag. I mean, it's brilliant. And so you'll have what looks like a static image with something will be moving in the background. It's totally crazy.
Hmm. So, and it should be quite interesting to see if the Windows Phone SDK now supports GIFs. That'd be quite nice. Obviously, the current one doesn't.
So this is an issue. Technically, right now, when you go to share it, it won't work. So it is an issue. But yeah.
Oh dear. Never mind. Okay, so that covers the 920. Before we move on to sort of a couple other bits, let's just quickly cover the 820 as well. Now, the 820 is billed as the evolution to the Nokia Lumia 800 design, although I would argue that it doesn't look an awful lot like the 800. What it does look like, though, from my perspective, is actually quite nice. They've gone with what I would call the evolution of the 710 design, in that you've rounded it off. You've got these removable, interchangeable covers, but instead of just being a sort of cover that just sits on the back of your Lumia 710 phone, it's kind of like you're replacing the entire shell of the device. And so we'll come on to accessories in a little bit, but you can then pick up an accessory for your 820 to make the back of the phone into a wireless charging capability. So the 820 specs that we know: 4.3-inch screen. I believe it's a 5-megapixel camera, 8 gig internal memory, expandable to 32 via an SD card. Supports NFC as far as we know, although again, NFC, I don't know if it requires a different back to achieve. It may just be possible as it is.
Yeah, it's built in, I think. Yeah.
It's built in, cool.
Or just for, I believe, for the charger or different colors.
Yep. Yeah. So the 820 is difficult because it feels like with a larger internal storage and just a slightly better camera, it would feel like quite a premium phone. I don't like the fact it's a second thought because the design is quite smart, and it is a nice evolution of the design. The sort of rounded corners, it looks like it would feel pretty good in the hand. That it's the smaller screen, but none of I would say. That's not going to say none, sorry. The majority of our listeners, I don't think, will be as interested in it, simply because it doesn't have the awesome new camera technology and it's got a lower resolution screen. And that is quite a big deal. I'm surprised to see them positioning the sequel to the 800 as having a 480 by 800 screen. That's just honestly surprised me. I was expecting them to bring out 2 HD 720p screens today. Raphael, what are your thoughts on the 820?
When I look at the 820, I'm not familiar too much with the 700 series, but it seems like they're almost bringing it up to the specs of a 900. The 900 has the same resolution. One thing that stood out though was the lower end battery.
Is it 1,300?
It is 1650 milliamps.
There you go.
So for comparison, the 920 is 2000 milliamps.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a less talk time, less play time. However, it does have a slightly different screen. So
yeah, and it's also using the S4 chipset, right? Which is supposed to be pretty good on power consumption. So one of the reasons why they chose it.
So let's just quantify that quickly. So in terms of, according to what Nokia are quoting on their website, if you haven't already been, you can go to nokia.com/global/product/phone/Lumia, then the number that you want /specifications. And you'll find that they're quoting that the 920 has a 10-hour talk time, 400-hour standby time, with the 820 having an 8-hour talk time and a 330-hour 330-hour 3G standby time. So there's definitely a quantifiable difference, but it might not be as much as we were expecting.
Right. Mm-hmm. Now, what is really cool though is that you get a lot more color options on the 820, which some people wanting the 920 are going to be upset about, especially since it's not going to have the cyan color set.
How is it not coming in cyan?
I don't know how this stuff works, but
I get that the yellow is bold, but let's be honest, the market for a yellow phone is going to be limited. So you're left with red, black, white, or grey.
Right.
Now, the red looks quite nice, and to be honest, if Verizon don't get a red one, it's just not, they're missing out there. The grey, slate grey looks okay, but it leaves you really with black and white.
The grey one.
Why is it not blue?
Yeah, well, I think what's interesting is that the gray one comes in a matte finish as opposed to glossy.
I think that's for the business enterprise people who want a more serious phone. I know we hate saying that, but it's kind of true. People are actually kind of excited about the gray color. So,
really?
But then again, a lot of people are excited about yellow too, and I find yellow kind of just an odd color. But I see yellow.
Yellow is funky, but the colors that they've chosen, I'll tell you what it is. Like, the blue obviously appeals to sort of a lot of people because blue is just such a natural calming color, and pink appeals well to those more feminine amongst us. I don't see yellow like me. Yeah, why not? I don't see yellow appealing in the same way, and even that purple color that they've got for the 820 doesn't look like it's quite going for the same place. But even as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that isn't it fantastic that we can argue over the different kinds of colors that our phones are going to come in.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah,
it's really good to be able to argue about this.
Had indigo.
The only thing that bugged me though is that every time they demoed the yellow color, it seemed like the text was hard to read. Was that how it was at your place, Dan? Or
yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, matter of fact, I'm looking at an image right now. The yellow one, it's true. The white is a little bit doesn't contrast as much with the yellow.
Right.
No, right.
Were you able to get your hands on a phone that had the yellow scheme?
I think so, but I didn't really, I didn't look at it too much. I didn't get to use like email and all that kind of stuff. So it's dark screen. So.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what kind of wrong with Nokia actually in the presentation, because this is kind of the other side of the story, right? The stock dropped down pretty significantly.
Yeah. So we should probably warn our podcast now that things are about to get a little bit less positive. If you don't want to hear this sort of thing, then you're at your own options. But we have to now talk quite honestly about.
Well,
the
problem is that they they didn't show off all Windows Phone 8, which we were expecting, mostly because Elop kind of heavily hinted at that. But that's not his call; that's Microsoft's. So it looks like now that most of Windows Phone 8 won't be revealed till build, which is kind of interesting. They have a lot of those features locked; you can't access them on the phone. So there seems to be some stuff on there that they just don't want to show off, either because it's not completed or because they still have some up their sleeve. So that was a big disappointment. No carriers, release dates, or prices were announced. Always frustrating. I can tell you the phone we saw today was on LTE. I mean, what else has LTE here in the United States currently? That's AT&T. I have an LTE network too, but I don't think it's up and running yet. So you can bet AT&T, T-Mobile. I think all those are accurate, but still, no firm dates, no firm announcements, no commitment. I was shocked AT&T wasn't there. I don't know what else.
No SDK.
No SDK.
Yeah. So
what the hell?
Was hoping that they would have.
So here's the problem. Nokia and Microsoft today had a really good chance to come out swinging, and then they just do one of two or three things. They needed to either kind of get in and get a real hype generated before the iPhone 5 announcement on September 12th. Come out with something exciting that we hadn't already seen in leaks. A tablet would have been nice, or at least build up anticipation by saying to people, "This is the date that you will have it." And frankly, they failed on all three accounts.
Just a pre-order.
We also, and the other thing is, as you said, without showing Windows Phone 8 and actually showing us a bit more about the device, it's still an incredibly enigmatic, for all the wrong reasons, device. I mean, Apple does do this right. They come out and they say, right, here's our new device. Here's the cool new features that you're going to get with it as well. The software works. What we've got right now is a shell of a phone. We know it's going to run Windows Phone 8. That's what the shell's going to look like. Here's the hardware details. But we don't know what the experience is going to be like. And for them to save that for another announcement a bit later on, I'm really questioning why Microsoft have done that, because they had a chance to really build up a lot of excitement for the device today, and they've really underdelivered.
Well, it's mixed, and I'll tell you why. They're in a pinch. They're damned that they do, and they're damned that they don't. The fact of the matter is, Windows Phone 8, I don't want to say it's behind schedule, because we never knew what their schedule was, so we can't possibly say that. But whatever it is, Windows Phone 8 is just not done or ready yet, or, we haven't heard it going gold yet. There's no RPM as far as we know. So for whatever reason, Windows Phone 8 is just not ready to ship, finalized. I personally feel Microsoft is under a tremendous amount of pressure getting this out there. I keep saying about 7.8. Everybody keeps asking us, what's 7.8? Like 7.8 is like an afterthought. Like they literally, I think, showed up to the summit and we're like that morning, like in 7.8. And I think, they're doing what they can. So what do? They done, sealed, ready to go to the OEMs and then announce it, which might be early November, or do they, and they wait till, they get weeks of bad press with the iPhone out, new Android devices, even BlackBerry RIM stuff, being leaked and everything, and they got to go through months of press like that, or do they sort of do what people have been asking them to do for a while, which is hype up the products? And
But this is my point. They had that chance today. So the problem is, and it's interesting because a couple of people in our chat room now, particularly Kevin Wheeler, for example, is suggesting that Microsoft has a bigger plan for this, and obviously they're smarter than us, which, is, of course, you're welcome to your opinion. From my perspective, it seems like there was a really good chance today to advertise the whole experience, to basically show off, the device coinciding with the software, which they've been working very hard on. And it was, considering that we're expecting these phones to be released hopefully before the end of this year, they haven't got an awful lot of time to do that, to build up that excitement. And considering that right now, the big problem is not people like us who are invested in the platform. It's trying to convince people to switch. It's difficult to try and convince people to switch with such an incomplete picture.
But they have partners to work with. If they didn't allow Samsung to turn a damn phone on last week, and then they allowed Nokia to just show everything, and then what are they going to do with HTC, the week after? Either you can do nothing because it's already been done, and they don't get anything either. What does that say to the OEM? Nokia gets everything. Granted, they're a featured partner, but do they get to have
that is true.
Have all the experience? I mean, it's already a slap in the face. Samsung couldn't turn on the damn phone. And I don't think that was Samsung's fault. I don't think Samsung was like, no, you please, from what I understand, they're really kind of limited at, and who knows what HTC is going to do. Maybe HTC will show off more, but perhaps that's what Microsoft is doing. They want to show some favoritism here, but they can't be just give everything to Nokia. So what it looks like they're doing is they're giving Samsung gets to show a device, Nokia gets to show a device with the OS, HTC can show the device, the OS maybe a little bit more, and then kind of build and everything like that. And it's keeping like a snowball effect. It's a different strategy. I agree it's not as, the Apple thing, but nothing will be like Apple because Apple makes their own hardware, makes their own software, and they completely dictate to the carriers when and where they're going to sell everything. And as awesome as it is, no argument from me, it'll never happen again in our lifetime. So I think we need to stop comparing it to Apple because no one ever is going to get that favor again that the carriers gave to them. Carriers gave that deal. And as awesome it is for consumers, it's terrible for carriers, and they hate it. And so they take it because of themselves.
So my question is then, so again, Kevin from our chat room is suggesting that we're making it seem like they're goofing around. That's not that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we needed in my opinion, a slightly more coherent plan. And from my perspective, I don't see why we are announcing the devices first without the full details of the OS. And why, still Microsoft hasn't come up with a press conference situation yet where people have been able to buy off the back of hype, because buying off the back of hype does very well for most of the other mobile phone manufacturers out there. So the pre-order situation is a lucrative market.
Yeah. I mean, because when Windows Phone 7 was announced, they announced it with a bunch of devices from various companies, HTC, Samsung, LG were all there. No one tried to one-up each other. I'm thinking now perhaps those OEMs want their own press events and want their own moment to shine where they can actually talk about their device. Because when they introduced Windows Phone 7 devices back in the day, no one got to pimp their phone. They were just like, here's HTC, and here's LG. And then we had to go around and play with them. Basically, this one could do this one could do that. We had to basically discover everything. And I imagine competition is so strict now there, but it's like, no, we want to do it ourselves. We want to have our own press conference. We want to be able to talk about what we're doing, especially with Windows Phone 8, because there's the potential for much more hardware differentiation that's going on. So my guess is the OEMs are actually putting real pressure on Microsoft, like, hey, we want to do our own announcements and stuff. So, it would be cool if Microsoft could have a big event where they show this stuff off. But how do you get Nokia to come up on? Then it would be like a pageant, right? Nokia comes on stage and shows their stuff, and everybody claps. Samsung comes on, and everybody shrugs a little bit.
Yeah, I see your reasoning there.
That's my guess. We're in a different time than a couple of years ago, and I think competition maybe playing a role.
Renee, you've been uncharacteristically quiet.
I think the SDK, though, throws a wrench in all that because the SDK is coming out next week. Are they going to bear all? Are they going to take stuff out of the SDK to leave room for OEMs to kind of show their stuff? Or
they've said it's going to be quite a limited SDK, right? It's only for people who have published apps now, and even then you might not get access to it.
Right. But it'll leak. I mean...
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
it's pretty much a release to web.
I mean, it's basically.
I'm kind of hoping that we're gonna, or that I'm gonna get my hands on it because I could do with cracking on with some Windows Phone 8 code. Yeah, we're in a difficult position. I mean, let's also talk about we should comment at least on the Verge story today about the camera sample, the Lumia teaser video that was taken showing basically the quality of OIS. Optical image stabilization, that is. A
move because it did actually show real footage of it. I actually saw it stabilized, like in real life. So I'm telling you, the audience, I actually saw it. Someone holding up the camera with it live and shaking it. And you can see the video on the site, our site, of someone shaking it and it working. In that sense, it's kind of a moot point. Having said that, I do agree it's sort of deceptive. It was probably not a good idea to have done that. And we don't know the whole story behind it, but now Nokia sort of even confessed, that's not the actual 920 hardware, it's simulation. How much did they simulate? I don't know, but it was kind of, they didn't need that. It was a little sloppy on their part. What was otherwise a great commercial, too. I thought it was a really brilliant campaign that they were doing.
People in the chat room are asking, I'm just going to put this one through. You had a chance to have a look at it. What did you think of the feel of the buttons on the 920? Obviously, there was some complaints about the original Lumia 800 buttons.
Yeah, it's a good question. I didn't pay enough attention to that. I go back tonight, I'll play around with it a little bit more if they let me fiddle with it. They don't feel radically different when they were today. So if you like them, I'm okay with the buttons, by the way. It doesn't bother me. But if they do bother you, you're not going to get to a radical change. They felt basically the same. That's how similar they felt to me. I didn't really pick up any differences or even made a note of it. It was different. So, they look different. I actually kind of look like the non-Chrome look. I think Chrome is, I think it's ironic that they always talk about no Chrome in the OS, and then they put actually like almost a Chrome on the phone. So it's kind of nice to see them like go with that black steel kind of look.
Okay, let's move on. We've got a few more things that I sort of wanted to cover. We're going to go on end on a high note, hopefully. First thing, basically, we're going to talk about two things. One is the Nokia accessories that are coming out, and second is the features that we did learn about in Windows Phone 8 today. So let's start with accessories.
Awesome.
Number one, I have to say, Nokia have killed it here. I really like the accessories range that they're looking to bring out.
Yeah, I don't understand how people aren't looking at Nokia going, this is a winning system here. You get the whole package of really cool stuff. No one else is doing this. It's totally out of Apple's playbook, and that's fine because that's why everybody likes Apple stuff. It's quality third-party accessories. I saw the JBL speakers. I got some photos of them and stuff. They sound pretty decent. I don't know if that sounds good as anything else that's out there. Nice headphones. I don't know. I really like those headphones. Are they worth that money? Probably not. Then again, I just bought one of those freaking Dyson bladeless fans. Yeah, $300 fan, but I got it on Groupon, so it's way cheaper. It's like half the price. But even still, it's like I'm like, what am I, an idiot? But it's a great fan. So I think the same way with these headphones.
How did we get on fans?
Because I'm just saying, this is really overpriced stuff. The headphones are ridiculously priced, right? Even though they have NFC, Bluetooth, and everything in them. I mean, come on, they're like £300 for headphones.
Okay, let's not focus on the headphones because, you're right. They're not going to sell unless anyone really cares about having the right color.
No, I mean people do. Listen, Beats Audio and their stupid headphones they're not cheap either. People buying them, so Dyson bladeless fans sell. I mean, but they are expensive. I'm just saying it's expensive, but it's kind of worth it. Kind of like the Xbox Live game this week. It's expensive, but kind of a good game. So depends what games to you.
Okay, so wireless charging. Then we saw a Fatboy charging pad, which is sort of like a cushion. We saw a general dock. We saw a nightstand style dock. We should stress that we can be pretty damn certain that the 920 is not going to come with these in the box. So this is additional purchase, kind of like the Palm Pre's Touchstone back in the day.
Yeah. The 900 didn't even come with earbuds.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but does anyone use the earbuds that come in that box?
I do.
One.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, when I'm going to put out, Raphael, you're doing it wrong. Don't get some proper earphones.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So you're going to get your basic charger situation as you already always have done, and then you'll be able to pick up these accessories. It's safe to assume these won't be cheap accessories because if I'm guessing anything about Nokia, I would say they're going to be clever here and put a decent amount of price on these accessories because you'll want to have them. And I will still buy them even if the charging pads cost me like 50 quid each. Sorry,
I think the charging pad's going to be an easy sell.
Yeah, very easy sell.
It is that universal charging. Is it cheap?
Yes, you're right. It is a universal standard. So actually the price might not be too bad there. And the NFC tap to pair things for speakers is also fantastic because I think actually one of the things that I really like is that we've spoken a little bit about, the USB dock on the bottom becoming standardized on the idea being that you would be able to have a unified dock. You don't really need a dock if they're going to come up with NFC pairing and wireless charging because why bother? You don't need a dock. You just put your phone on top of it. Done. That's brilliant.
I think it's more useful when you put your phone on your desk and you need to plug a USB cable into it. It's a pain in the ass when it's on the top.
It is.
You have to swivel your phone around, then it falls on the floor. Having it on the bottom is it's more natural, right? And of course, it's more consistent across the board. of Windows phones, but I kind of like that.
Like about having universal things at the bottom. HTC on the side drove me nuts every time I go in my car.
Oh, yeah.
Clamping car mount and couldn't plug it in. I'm like, okay. Did the okay guy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a much better.
What else do we have in Nokia? I feel like I'm missing something. Oh yeah, no, that was gloves. Were we missing anything else with regards to the accessories that we saw today? There's the speakers, JBLs that you said sounded pretty decent.
You know, what was it, Atlantic or whatever, for the charging pad, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I wanted to check actually. They mentioned a nightstand thing.
Yeah.
Is that just a stood up version, or is that going to hook into some kind of clock and alarm? Because that just sounds awesome.
No, it's just a stand up version. I have a picture of it. I think it may be in our photo gallery.
Nokia, if you're listening and you're not too angry with me for bashing you earlier, can you make a nightstand version that'll like beam onto some kind of alarm clock? Because that'll be just fantastic.
Well, I mean, the whole idea is that this stuff catches on, right? Third-party companies could develop it. Why not?
We should apologise. The sound quality on Dan has dropped quite a bit. Just apologise there.
Well, actually, what's interesting is in one of Nokia's videos, they actually showed a alarm clock app.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see that on the dock and running. If maybe it can detect that it's on the dock via APIs. I don't know.
I couldn't. Sure.
Yeah, it should be able to. We have seen in the SDK that there will be capabilities for pairing with custom hardware, and I definitely, if I could make hardware, I'd go and try it myself. But I definitely can't make hardware. But it would be really cool to see someone come up with an NFC Windows Phone alarm dock. It just imagine if you could beam your Windows Phone clock or screen like up onto your roof, the way that they've done it in the past. If you've ever seen fancy alarm clocks. I'm getting a bit carried away here, but all these things are technically possible.
And just quickly, I want to answer one question in the chat room. Marco Jensen asked, the 7.8 Nokia lenses. Yes, Nokia, they won't be lenses. Lenses is a Windows Phone 8 thing, but what you'll see from Nokia is what you've already seen, which is they'll release an app that has those lenses that features in them, basically. So, yeah, they said that's coming for all their Lumia devices. It's not a 7.8 thing. It'll just come to all their Lumia phones. So, same thing with all the Angry Bird titles. That was a subtle little thing in there, right? All the Angry Bird titles are coming to Lumia.
Oh, so what is that companion app about?
Right. So, the companion app. It has news, wallpapers, ringtones, and the store where you can basically buy all the Angry Birds.
Right. I was gonna put this question out to our chat room. Chat room. Have you ever in your life felt the need for an Angry Birds companion app? Answers on a postcard, please, because I don't want. I'm struggling here.
You can argue against it, but I still don't get Facebook, and all you people are still using that nonsense. And I saw someone the other day wearing a Facebook Angry Bird shirt. So,
can I just go through the answers from our chat room? We've got no, nope, no. Fuck radio.
What about Shadow 86's response, Jay?
I just said it.
I think it's the wrong demographic, but it's okay. Whatever. But the fact is, it sells, right?
It will sell. No, you are right. You are right. If they say unique Angry Birds content, people will probably come.
Yeah.
But let's go on from that. They also talked, of course, today about the new augmented reality stuff. Now, it's difficult to call this new augmented reality because the app, as it is, exists already. What's cool is, of course, the lens technology and the way that's going to way that you'll be able to just launch straight into third-party apps from the lens. And I think what we'll actually do is instead we've got lenses to talk about and screenshots to talk about for Windows Phone 8 new features. So, Darren, I know you've wanted to talk about lens for some time.
I need to go start drinking. The lens is really neat. We've talked about this for a while. It's basically, I don't know, it's kind of neat. What it does is you launch your camera. Within the camera, you launch mini apps within the camera. It's what it is. It's apps for your camera. And what that really means, though, is third-party companies have a whole new area of creativity, right? They can build their stuff right into the camera. You can do live filters. And you can kind of do live filters now, and they kind of suck because the OS isn't built for it. It's sluggish, and the processor, chugs. But with the 1.5 dual core and Windows Phone 8's core and everything, it'll hum along nicely. So you can do all these.
Have we lost him? I think we might have. I'm going to assume that if Dan was here, he'd be talking about the fact that obviously with these being launchable apps, the idea is that third-party developers can actually start providing some really interesting functionality. I'm quite curious to see. I think a lot of people were expecting to see something from Instagram or someone from like on those regions, because it seems to make sense. We're seeing there's quite a common trend at the moment. People like Facebook, for instance, are creating links to the Facebook camera. I don't know if you've used an Android device, Raphael, but obviously they have the case where you can just sort of launch straight into the Facebook apps from a shortcut. And I think a lot of people are trying to trend towards that idea. So having these third-party lenses, it's just a really interesting idea. I mean, it's the idea of just being able to sort of open up and go straight into this lens rather than bothering extending the camera app. What do you make of it?
It's a little gimmicky, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Then again, I'm not a big fan of cameras on phones to begin with, because after you go buy a DSLR, you treat that thing as the one and only camera you ever use for the rest of your life. Yeah. But that said, the augmented reality...
You lose the social stuff then, don't you?
I'm back.
No, I don't.
Oh, you're back.
But the augmented reality city view stuff is actually pretty cool, because, that's a common scenario, right? You're walking to a new restaurant, you look around, you're like, okay, I know it's here somewhere. I'm on top of the dot, but you don't know actually where it's at. So this will definitely help me.
I get you there. Yeah, I'm quite excited by lenses and sort of what it could be, what it could mean. We've got to see how it's actually going to get used. But the idea, you think about the fact it's so easy to launch our cameras from Windows Phone. And the idea that you can just then tap and go straight into a lenses app just means that you've got a really quick way of being able to do all sorts of different interesting things with the camera technology that Nokia has provided. I think it could. I don't think it's going to be a big breakthrough technology. I don't think we're going to see it as some big disruptive technology. I think it's a smart idea that people would miss if they tried to leave Windows Phone.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not disruptive technology for sure. Neither is the augmented reality stuff yet. But it's getting there. The city lens stuff is neat. Augmented reality, I still kind of call it a bit of a gimmick, but it's kind of cool. We'll see what happens with it, but it's neat that they're pushing the boundaries of it, and it makes good ads, right? People always talk about you need features to sell the phone. Well, I tell you what, you throw it up on a TV, it looks really cool. Whether or not you use it or not is a separate issue. But Siri makes great commercials too. But I don't know if many people actually use it.
They're absolutely spot on. What else did we announce about Windows Phone 8 today? Oh yeah, screenshots.
So
screenshots.
But yeah, it was just.
What is it? Power then menu button or menu then power button?
I forgot.
I didn't catch the shortcut.
It's something on that region. It's so the menu then power or power then menu. There you go, power button and home button together.
Oh, okay.
So I reckon that'll work quite well. Let's stress it. We needed it, but it's just it's not a killer feature as people in the chat room are joking about. It's a good feature. It's a necessary feature. It's been possible to do it through third-party dev unlocked devices, but it will be a welcome change. And it means, as we've talked about before on this podcast, as Dan says, having things like screenshot features means that you can submit your messaging to sites like Damn You Autocorrect, and that's good advertising for a phone because people say, oh, what's that messaging interface? So it actually is quite a big deal being able to have these kind of screenshots because it's self-advertising if you can quickly share it. And it's really good to hear that Microsoft listened to people saying, why can't I take screenshots of my awesome new layout? So I'm happy to see that. Anything else on Windows Phone 8 front? Was that all that was announced?
I was just going to run through the list of apps real quick. One bullet. So on the sports side, we got some Red Bull application that's exclusive for like 9 months. If you're into that whole Red Bull stuff, you'll want that. Imaging, Vimeo. What's cool about this is they actually give you a 3-month trial of the Vimeo Plus stuff. So you get to play around with it 3 months. If you hate it, just let it die. That's an exclusive as well. Angry Birds, we mentioned. We'll skip right over that. That is an exclusive for 3 months, if anyone cares. The Bloomberg Hub, if you're really into business and finance news and all that stuff, 3-month exclusive there. On the lifestyle side, if you're a hipster like Jay, there's this Style Saint app It looks just like a Pinterest clone. I didn't look too heavily into it. That's only an exclusive to the end of the year, which is hilarious because we won't get these phones till like October or November. There's also Groupon, which everyone's familiar with. That's an exclusive for 6 months, which is pretty awesome.
App, so this is just I think they're adding augmented reality probably to it or something.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going down this list. Some of these apps are already there, but they're actually improving them for the next iteration.
I want them just have a Domino's Pizza app with augmented reality. Give me that.
Yeah. On the productivity side, this is an interesting one. You Send It. That's that whole file upload sharing service. They're adding NFC features, so you can tap to send files. That's going to be an exclusive for 3 months on the phone. I think my favorite is the Michelin app. This is kind of so Michelin's a tire company.
What?
And it's funny. I know it's weird, but Michelin's a tire company, but they also put out this guide, this red book of restaurants around the world. And if you watch enough Hell's Kitchen, you know these Michelin stars, these ratings are very heavily coveted. So you get you get access to this guide and a bunch of new features, and that's going to be exclusive on the phone for 6 months. What? Okay, what's funny?
No, you love Gordon Ramsay.
I watch everything Gordon Ramsay. He's awesome.
Basically, all I can think about now is just that you're basically that guy who's like, oh, I'm such a restaurant savant. It's wandering around your Michelin star going, this one here has 5 Michelin stars. We can go there.
It's weird because I love all that foodie stuff, but yet I'll only walk across the street and maybe get something at Panda Express. I mean, I don't know. And then and then on the messaging side, of course, we have WhatsApp. I think everyone's familiar with that at this point. I think we've written about it 100 times. So
I'm not really sure what they're bragging about there. I mean, WhatsApp's right there on my phone.
I think the only thing that was new was an enhanced layout to match like the new resolutions on the phone. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. People are talking about IE10 in our chat room. We should just quickly cover that fact that we've seen IE10 already. It was covered previously. I don't think we saw that much particularly new here, did we?
I didn't.
I think it's worth noting that IE10 on the desktop doesn't even have much going for it. So
that's all right. No, it's all right. The Metro experience is all right. Sorry, not Metro. Windows Phone 8 UX Metro experience is all right.
Right. I'm just talking from a feature perspective. We're not going to see much different because maybe smart screen.
Until they can have extensions built in that are clickable and installable like Chrome, I don't really care.
Right.
Bring up IE10, I start to snooze. Like, okay. I mean, I'm glad for it. I'm not slamming it. I just find browsers boring. I'm an app person. I use a browser seriously on my phone like 3 or 4 times a week, maybe.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's
some people in our audience are the opposite. So some people like absolutely hate using apps. They want to use a browser. So for them, I think they'll be happy with IE10. But I just don't have anything interesting to add to that conversation, and I really just want to go to the part. Started.
I agree with you. There's 2 kind of camps there. It's the people who live in the browser for internet, and people who prefer the idea of a web service. And it runs obviously against your app, so you get more of an integrated experience. And there's arguments that the new desktop OSs, etc., are all going to the whole web service principle and bringing content forward rather than sandboxing it inside a browser. And I agree. People, sorry, just to address something else in the comments. Kevin Wheeler reckons that you'll let me go to build if I finish a Win 8 app for Windows Phone Central. Is that true?
But what is it?
He reckons that you'll let me go to build if I make a Windows 8 app.
My fingers and get your registration. That's magically doesn't exist anymore. Sure.
Yeah, you could do that.
Sure.
Yeah, Windows 8 I'll get around to eventually. There's other things going on. Dan's already working me incredibly hard, so.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, you better appreciate it. So we've spoken about the Netherlands.
You every day. Get to work. I do not. Come on.
That is a very good point. The whip says it all.
Oh,
okay, so we've spoken about most of it. Let's just quickly sum up where we were, or what we've spoken about today. And the general reaction here amongst us three is that we're all very excited about the hardware that Nokia has put out here. And I think it's probably safe to say that all three of us will be purchasing or acquiring or using one of these new Nokia Lumia phones as our daily drivers. We're all probably eyeing the RT as well, as the Samsung device does look pretty good. There are questions around the presentation, the way that Nokia presented things today. I feel that it could have been better, but I think we've really got reason to be excited here because the new hardware, the sort of the interesting hardware that Nokia's bringing to the table, the new accessories combined with Windows Phone 8 and what we can expect to come out of it, even if we don't have as much detail as we'd like here, it's still an exciting time, and I think today is good news. So it proves that I don't understand stock markets because, Nokia Corporation's down 16% on the stock market as a result of all these announcements. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
Nope.
Cool.
Well, we'll be back again, hopefully in 2 weeks or roughly. That may be the same day as HTC's announcement. I forgot that's the 19th. So we'll be here in New York City for that event too. I can already tell you there will be Windows Phone 8 devices there. And, the stuff we've seen so far is kind of, pretty much what we expect. So. But they'll have the magic to pull out. Remains to be seen, but let's not get our hopes up too high. But I think HTC is going to have some nice surprises. So tune in for that coverage. We'll have a lot leading up to that day, of course. In the meantime, of course, go to our site, and we'll be putting more up over the next 24 hours.
Cool. Do you want to wrap up, or shall I?
Hey, wrap up.
Okay. You can find us all on Twitter at wpcentral. You can find Dan at Daniel_Rubino. You can find George, our reviews editor, at Coppertop004. Rich, one of our British writers, at Rich Edmonds. Myself, Jay Bennett, at JAYT Bennett. SegaCon, or at SegaCon rather, is Paul, our games editor. Raphael here is at Within Raphael. Rogue Code at Rogue Code is Matt, our other developer / writer. Dave, our forums guru, at Big_D5, and at Groove Point is where you will find Rob Brand. Rob can't even. This has been the Mobile Nations podcast. Please go to mobilenations.com for more great shows covering everything mobile, or head over to the WP Central forums if you'd like to get involved with our community in discussing more about Windows Phone news, devices, and apps. Thanks to the WP Central store for sponsoring this podcast, and thanks also to the great artists from ccmixter.org for offering a great database of Creative Commons music, and you can find more information below. People are asking, just quickly, as I know Q&A, we've done a general Q&A through this. We will have a full Q&A when we get back onto a regular podcast, but Dan has to go and drink, and I have to go and sleep.
I do. I'll do both. Okay. There you go. Thanks.
But obviously, feel free to send in questions regardless, because we always like answering them.
And we'll have the SDK available for you next week.
Yes.
I will. If they don't let me upload it here, I will put it on Twitter.
The whole SDK in 140 characters at a time.
Well, maybe a link.
I challenge you to do that, my friend. I challenge you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Take care, everybody.